And you're not alone. Maybe the other thing I can say is you're not alone. I know there's so much stigma around fibroids where people say, what's this big thing about fibroids? Kila mtu akona fibroids. What's the big deal is that we're in pain. We are suffering.
Not normal.
It's not normal, guys. It's not normal. So let's stop trivializing it.
Yeah. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Teenagers and Periods. Last episode we had an amazing conversation with different women who are going through different period experiences. Today we are joined by an amazing guest. Tabitha is the founder of My Red is Beautiful and an advocate for women living with fibroids. Today she'll be sharing with us her menstruating experience. Our hope is that we'll be able to enlighten people on some of the conditions and disorders that women go through because of menstruation, normalize the conversation, and also let you know that you're not alone. Welcome, Tabitha, and thank you for lending your voice to this important conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, before we start, we'd also just like to issue a disclaimer that we're not medical professionals and that her experience is unique to her. So please consult a medical professional to get a proper diagnosis. So don't assume that just because you have the same symptoms that you also have the same condition. We've probably heard about the term fibroids, whether it was in passing or like if you Googled, or you probably known someone who's living with fibroids. But before we even delve into the conversation, describe your first time in one word.
Exciting. Exciting because I was really looking forward to starting my period. We used to have these ladies who came from always to just, tell us about how our period feels or look, what we should expect as young girls. I remember I was in around class 6, class 7. And it was super exciting because, it was this thing that every girl gets to experience and it marks your womanhood. Now I'm not a little girl anymore. Yeah. So I was really looking forward to it because most of my friends in class had already started their period and I was a late bloomer. Yeah. So I was like, gosh, when is it happening? So I remember one evening I was leaving school and I got home and I felt this release. And when I rushed to the washroom, I saw the period and I was super excited. I rushed out of the washroom and to my mom's room, like, Mom, my period is my period. And she was like, calm down. Here's a pad. So I go to the toilet. I open it and I'm like, okay, I remember they taught us how to do this, but let me try. Eventually I figured it out. Yeah. But it was super exciting. Yeah. I guess it's because we were prepared prior. So kudos to our primary school teachers. Yeah,
for preparing. Yeah. And also, I think because being a late bloomer, it's like, because I also was a late bloomer, so everyone had started, so I was like, is it time? Okay, is it time? I feel like, that's crumbs. I'll probably get them next month. But it's a good thing that you had an exciting first time. Yes. So you probably menstruated for, had a couple of cycles, even for a couple of years. At what point did you notice that something was off?
In 2016, around, let's say October, I had just gotten married in September and I had just come back from my honeymoon. That was in October 2016. And of course, I'm checking in, back to work. And I'm just having a normal cycle. So it was, I think, around day 3 of my period cycle. Of my period rather, not my cycle. And I was just working, and it was around 1 p.m. Had gone to change my sanitary towel. Yeah. So I come back from the bathroom and of course sit down, settle in, and continued my work. And then I figure out, I feel some wetness, some cold sensation, and try standing, of course, to go back to the washroom to find out what's going on. And the person seated next to me tells me you need to sit back because you've messed, your outfit. And I was confused for a minute, just like, is she serious? Could that be it? Because I just changed, didn't know what happened. And of course, she handed me over a sweater, and I had to do my walk of shame. I call it walk of shame because there's so much stigma around periods, especially in the workplace. Because we work, of course, with dudes, and and I was imagining I have to walk all the way to the washroom, which was quite a distance from where I was seated, and everyone was going to see me wrapping the sweater around my waist, and they'd obviously figure out what was going on. And it didn't have to be like that, but obviously there's a lot of shame and stigma around periods. And it's quite sad, if you can also talk about periods at the workplace, the fact that even men are not empowered to support us during that time of the month. And it doesn't have to be your husband or your boyfriend. Even your colleagues need to know that a period is normal and it's nothing to laugh about or to be shocked about, or or to call someone messy. You're so messy.
Like
how didn't you know?
Like you should know. By now you should know your cycle.
You should know.
Like you should know what time it is to change.
You should know, and it's quite unfortunate. But I did my walk of shame. I went to the toilet, and what I found was not very appeasing, because it had soiled all through, if I can be very honest, through everything. So I literally ask someone who was in the washroom with me to get my phone so that I can call my husband, because I couldn't imagine going back to the seat. So my plan was to actually just walk out of the office straight and go home and
into
go
the
back,
car.
So I call my husband, and my husband's like, what do you mean? What happened? I'm like, even me, I'm confused, because it's just, it's a lot of blood and it's just coming out and coming out. And I was actually scared for a minute. I was like, this is very weird. And my husband comes in, thank God, he saves the day, and we go home. So so he's like, what could you think could be wrong? I'm like, I also don't know. I'm just bleeding and bleeding. Maybe it's the chocolate I ate, because I had chocolate. When
because it's usually,
I was snacking on chocolate before, and I was like, it must be the cocoa in,
It must be that.
Because, period myths. We're told cocoa. I don't know how true it is, but I think it's a myth.
Because they say like chocolate makes your flow heavier.
You either get really bad cramps, so it makes your flow very heavy. So get home, and we decide, you know what, we're going to wait it out. Let's see
if
how
it happens again.
And it didn't happen again, but then when the next period came, the period was still very heavy. And can you imagine, from October, I waited it out till February the next year to go and see a doctor. That was around 4 to 5 months before I went to see a doctor. Because I thought this just it must be something I ate, or I don't know.
It must be something I'm doing.
Because and the reason why I ended up going in February was because I decided to enroll at the gym, to lose weight, because I wanted to start trying for a child. Obviously, I just gotten married, and my doctor had mentioned, bypassing my last visit, my gyna, that I should just try and shed off the weight. Okay, so I'm at the gym doing my thing, and then all of a sudden I just get dizzy. I'm like, Allah, why am I feeling like this? And the instructor tells me, where? You're being lazy.
Continue the rest.
So I'm continuing, and actually I almost pass out. And he's like, okay, now wait, just go home. There's something definitely wrong. And I go home and I get really dizzy. I'm really tired, super exhausted. I was like, this is so confusing. And eventually I sat down, that voice inside you, your conscious, that tells you there's something wrong. Just go see a doctor. I decided to listen to it. And I went, of course, and I was told I have fibroids. Now, I had never heard of fibroids. I only had it once from my mom in passing, saying, hizo ni magonjwa za watu wazee. Old women don't wanapata hizi vitu. So I was like, because even when I called her, when I found out I had fibroids, she was like, there's no, you have fibroids.
Like how?
You're so young. I got married at 25. You're just 25. There's no way you have fibroids, Tabi. These are things that get women who are much older. And I was so confused. I was like, what does she mean? And the doctor tells me, let's just monitor your fibroids. Of course, he wasn't honest with me, because I wish I actually did my own research to find out what fibroids are. Because if I had, I would have realized I have symptomatic fibroids. Now, there are two types of fibroids, symptomatic and asymptomatic. Now, your fibroids can either come with symptoms or not. There's so many women who've conceived with fibroids because the symptoms don't, consume them. They don't affect their lives. They are not experiencing heavy bleeding. They are not cramping. They are not anemic, because the reason why I was dizzy was because I'd become anemic. Because I'd lost so much blood. And there are also women who experience infertility, who have symptomatic fibroids, like I did later on, if Later on, I realized I couldn't carry children. Every time I got pregnant, I've lost 4 children. Every time I'd get pregnant, I'd miscarry because the fibroids were symptomatic and they were sitting in my endometrial cavity. Can get a bit if you can go into medicine a bit. Now, when you get pregnant, normally your pregnancy grows in the endometrial cavity. That's where it grows after conception has taken place, in your fallopian tubes and all that. So every time conception would happen and the child moves to the endometrial cavity so that they can grow, it would come out. But you see, I didn't know that. I had to realize it much later. It took me 2 years to find out that the type of fibroids I have, because there are very many types. The submucosal, like what I had, they were in the endometrial cavity, were taking up space so the child making the child not to be able to grow. And that's why every time I get pregnant, the pregnancy would come out. Now, from my own research, that's what I found out much later, because the first surgery took place the same year. I found out I have fibroids in September. Around 6-7 months later, it was a laparoscopic surgery. They removed the fibroids, but unfortunately, they were not able to remove everything because they were very tiny ones, like microscopic. The doctor couldn't see. So by the time the surgery was over and I had finished like at 3 months, they were back. They were big enough, and the symptoms were all back. So I was so frustrated because in that process again I was also getting pregnant and losing, because the doctor kept telling me just try, continue trying. Now we've removed the fibroids, I'm sure something. And when they grew back, I was so upset. I remember sitting in my house and telling my husband, I'm tired. And by that time I was bleeding throughout. Day by day. There was no pauses. I was losing. I'd become anemic. I was on anemic drugs. I had lost, as I've mentioned, children. I was in so much pain. I had to stop working at some point because every time, I'd go to work, situations of me messing myself, it was so heavy. It was so bad. It was a mess. So it affected my work, it affected my finances because I'm in and out of hospital. Either for a D&C. A D&C is when they are removing, the products of conception after you miscarry, has remained. Either I'm in surgery, either I'm going to get a blood transfusion because I don't have enough blood, I'm anemic. It was a very difficult time, the last 3 years of my life, until obviously my last surgery, which I decided to do out of my own research. I later on found out I need to do open myomectomy, which is equivalent to a CS, where they cut you open on your bikini area and try to remove all the fibroids. I decided to go for that surgery because they're able to see more of the fibroids. There's a bigger surface area in the open than comparing to a laparoscopy because they're using microscopes and all that stuff. And it was successful, thank God. My doctor initially wasn't for it. I had to sign consents because he was like, we can still do laparoscopic. I was like, listen, because of course they were not big. The issue was not even the size, it was the fact that they were in my endometrial cavity. So every time even I would menstruate, because they've made my uterus very bulky, and they've made the surface area bigger, so where the blood gushes out, so that means more blood was coming out, and that's why I was losing a lot of blood, and that's why eventually I decided to go for that specific surgery. So when every time I talk about fibroids, I like to tell women that your fibroids are unique to you.
Exactly.
You don't have to go for an open myomectomy like me. If for example you don't have symptomatic fibroids, you don't need an open myomectomy. A laparoscopic surgery will work for you. And sometimes doctors even tell you to wait it out. You don't really need to go for surgery if you're not symptomatic. So I always say research. I mean, knowledge is your power. Get empowered. I think the problem with us women, we really are skewed towards believing doctors so much that we don't we don't really do our own research to find out. Knowledge is power. If you're not researching, if you're not learning about how your body works, how, as we were talking before, hormonal imbalance, what it is, it starts as acne. not going to the washroom for a long call, for example.
Yeah.
That tells you your
something
hormones are off. Yeah, and there's something very wrong. It could be PCOS, it could be fibroids, endometriosis. So these are things that as a woman you need to know. And sometimes your doctor will not tell you, your mommy will not tell you. You have to research on your own as a woman.
yourself.
You have to be empowered and love yourself enough. And that is what I call self-love. Self-love for me is not really going to the spa and eating a nice meal and doing your nails. All that is beautiful. But really, how are you investing in yourself as a woman? You know, because really, if you really love yourself, you'll take the course, you'll research. You'll go a step further to finding out, you know, what is important with their reproductive health.
Even seeking a second opinion.
Yes, from a doctor.
Yeah, from a doctor is allowed. Because like if, and you know, and also getting a good relationship with a gynecologist is important.
Yes.
And if the first time you go to someone and you feel like he's not listening to you, because also I think society, we've normalized pain. So it's like you're feeling pain, it's like, and then it's like we've chosen separation. So it's like, you know, my cramp's supposed to be bad. But if you feel like for you that's too much pain, go and get help. Go and seek, you know, go to the doctor.
Not even too much pain. Yeah. I would say any pain. You're not supposed to feel pain during a period. So period cramps are not normal.
Yeah.
They are made to feel like they are normal, but they are not normal. Please see your doctor and prioritize your reproductive health over other things in your life as a woman. I mean, I was telling you, I did a Q&A on my Instagram there at some point last year, and there are women who are telling me, I have to go do my hair, I have to do my nails, I have to go do this and that. I mean, mi sina pesa daktari. And consultation at a gynecologist is 3,500 to 4,000. I mean, why is it not important for you to go and see a doctor? And it's okay for you to fulfill all other priorities. It's quite sad. And that's why you're going to see a doctor when it's too late. Yeah. And it's quite unfortunate. So for me, I'm so big on asking women to empower themselves by going to see a gynecologist, to prioritize their reproductive health, and to also listen to your conscious, you know, listen to that still voice inside you that tells you, don't do this. Normal. Sometimes, you know, if you listen to it, it's trying to protect you from something. There's a reason it was put there by God.
That's true. So I think even like that's the conversation is the same way you take your car to a service, same way you'd also do your hair. Just go and see a gynecologist regularly. You don't have to feel pain. You don't have to say, okay, you know, I'm trying to get pregnant. Just make it a constant habit. And also, like last time, as much as the people recommended their gynecologist, they will also share with you different gynecologists, because also a lot of people were saying that it's hard to
get a good gynecologist.
You know, even just find where
I got mine as a referral from my sister-in-law, God bless her. And he was fantastic. The initial doctors I had were not, I'll be very honest. But the one who I was introduced to was very good. In fact, he's the one who delivered my son finally. So, I mean, referrals are good. And also visit hospitals and ask about doctors. Why I like referrals is because somebody's testament from other people as a doctor is more powerful than just going to a doctor for the first time who you know nothing about, because people's experiences are so powerful. Your story is so powerful. Because if somebody tells you, I was neglected by this doctor, I didn't have a good experience with this doctor, it will save you a traumatic experience later, you know, by just listening to them, so that you don't go to that doctor. And also, no one, like, personally, I wouldn't vouch for a bad person. He's like, you know, I wouldn't recommend, because you're my friend, I wouldn't refer to someone family,
who's not.
Friends, these are people who genuinely care about you.
So
if they tell you no, obviously. But also do your own research. Do
your own research, and also everyone's experience is unique. So make sure that by the time you're choosing to go with this one, it's a conscious decision that you've made. And also, if you feel like things are off, be okay to break the relationship and go for someone else.
Absolutely. So Married is Beautiful is an assignment I believe I was given by God at the very lowest point in my life. I just come from my last surgery, open myomectomy in 2019. And I was in pain at home, recovering from my surgery. And before that, I'd lost 4 children. I was out of work. Of course, I couldn't go to work. And I was alone, seated at my couch, reflecting and thinking and asking God, why? And when does this stop, God? It's too much. What will it take? Literally, those are the questions I was asking God. And sometimes when we question God, this is what I usually say. you're asking God why, but he asks you why not. What makes you think you're more special or extraordinary
not to use you.
that you should not go through this? And you really, that process, I call it the threshing floor process. He's just trying to bring to its purpose. There's a reason. I believe there's, as cliche as this sounds, there's a reason why we go through everything we go through. You know. And for me, that was purpose. I didn't know. That was everything I went through was tied to my assignment. And the assignment was My Red is Beautiful. And he gave me, I was on my couch seated, and I saw it like a vision. And I saw women in so much pain and not knowing what to do. And God told me, because I had to allow you to go through it so that when I send you out to the marketplace, you are able to help these women. Because I can't tell you, my Tabitha, that this shoe hurts. You can't understand the pain of this shoe hurting if you've not worn it. So I had to go through that experience, as sad as it was, as painful as it was, as traumatizing as it was, so that I'm able to understand. When I talk to a woman who has fibroids, I'm not just talking from a point of I researched and learned. I know how it feels. I know what it feels like to lose children. I know what it feels like to not sleep at night because you have to change your pad every 10 minutes. I never used to sleep at all. Yes, because every 10 minutes my pad is full, it's overflowing. You know, it's clots, it's heavy clots coming out. It actually feels like cancer almost. So at some point, even I remember my husband echoing the words, babe, could it be cancer? Because you know, the things that were happening to my body were totally off, far from normal. And that's when God, I believe, breathed this assignment in me, that I am to bring awareness, you know, around the disease that is called fibroids, and to help end this stigma, you know, by putting out my story and helping women, you know, find holistic solutions, you know, to their different, you know, fibroid, you know, situations. So red represents blood, and beautiful represents your womanhood. You know, the womanhood God gave you was to produce, was to, you know, have children. You know, it was to, it's beautiful. There's nothing wrong about your sexuality as a woman.
There's nothing.
But fibroids and endometriosis and all these things, you know, have made it feel like it's so ugly. Like, you know, it's so wrong. But I'm just trying to echo back the word that your red is beautiful. Like your period, your womanhood can be beautiful. Really, that is what my assignment and my purpose is.
Even also just enjoying the journey you're on, like with your fibers and everything, just loving it and loving what you're going through. So what are some of the ways that you've used to help cope or manage during your period now that you're living with fibroids?
So my surgery was very successful. My last surgery, I left the hospital with no fibroids, and I was able to stay from August 2019 till I conceived last year in April with no fibroids at all. And that's how I ended. I guess I ended up conceiving, although I wasn't trying. I believe it was all I did. I wasn't trying. Trust me, people don't believe it, but I wasn't trying. God is amazing. So until last August, when I was around 4 months pregnant, and they found out I had a fibroid where my son was, around where my son was growing. And I remember carrying that pregnancy in faith, because I was like, oh my God, the trauma came back. Because I was like, this is going to happen again. I'm going to lose my child again. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. I eventually was able to deliver my son, thank God, to term, 39 weeks. That fibroid, to be very honest, from the time it was realized, it has not brought any effects. Because if I can go back to the last period I had last month, my period was very normal. I was not experiencing any cramps. My flow was okay. So I want to believe that I'm healed, and so far I'm not experiencing any symptoms. But if we could go back to when the fibroids were symptomatic, I was experiencing very heavy bleeding, extremely, very, very heavy bleeding. Bleeding that moved from, for example, I'd change a pad every 4 hours, but that's a normal period. To, I change a pad every 1 hour or every 30 minutes to even 10 minutes. Because if I don't, you know, it's a mess. It's a mess. That's what they call hemorrhaging in the medical world. Then other symptom is, of course, anemia because of losing a lot of blood. Heavy cramps. I mean debilitating cramps. Like really painful cramps. I don't know what to, like you can't move, you can't sleep, you can't do anything. They paralyze your life. Erratic periods, meaning your periods, you get your period in 3 weeks, then in 2 weeks, in 5 days it's here. You're like, what is happening? Your cycle
like,
is off. You know, that tells you there's a problem. Those are the 3-4 symptoms that you should really be, aware of. Of course, constipation. You always look bloated. You always look pregnant, and you're always farting and releasing gas. For some weird reason. Not funny at all, but I don't know why I'm laughing. But so those I can say those are the symptoms that I really experienced the most.
What are some of the ways that you incorporated to help you just cope? Or manage?
Wow, it was hard, if I can be very honest. It's hard to cope when you have symptomatic fibroids, if I can be specific, because as I've told you, I had to leave work. It affects your marriage because for example, you're not able to have sex, if I can be very honest, because you're losing blood every day. I mean, you literally are bleeding every day. So you can't conceive, and if you conceive it, you lose your pregnancy. That definitely takes a toll on your marriage. And then the emotional trauma.
Of just everything you've gone through.
Because then it leaves you isolated because you can't even leave the house. I never used to go for events or anything because where are you going?
I'm changing my product every 10 minutes.
You mess, so you can't see your friends, you can't see your family. It leaves you really alone, and it was very tough, if I can be very honest. But I think the one thing that kept me going was God, because I would when I was in the house alone, I would put worship music, I'd put a sermon, I'd pray a lot. I'm big on journaling. Oh God, I love journaling. I think journaling has brought me so far and has kept my head above water, because even now that I'm not experiencing any symptoms with fibroids, even in now my motherhood journey, now that I'm a mom, writing has become so therapeutic. Writing about how I feel. Even when I'm happy and, I just write, and I find solutions. I almost feel like I'm in therapy. Like I always say, I'm a big advocate for therapy, but I feel like the minute I hold that journal and that pen, it's free flowing. Like I release, every heavy and every weight that I'm carrying, and I get my answers there. It has also helped me become so self-aware, because now I understand why I feel the way I feel. I understand why I react the way I react, and I'm able to center myself, and find my peace and find myself in that very moment. So prayer, journaling, has become very helpful, and of course, a great family. I'm so grateful I have an amazing husband. That one was God sent. I always say that. He walked with me through this journey. He protected me. He fought for me, and he never left. That's the important thing. Because in our African society, when you can't give your husband children, you're told, okay, sasa wewe, you can't, you're not important, you can't be called someone's wife. But that man stuck with me. And I remember one time we were having a conversation and he said, I don't care even if we don't have kids. I don't want to adopt. We will stay the way we are. We'll travel the world. We used to make fun.
It's just me and you.
He was super supportive. And I think, and that's when, I think also Fibroids sort of reintroduced me to the person I got married to, because it helped me really see who he was, because he had every reason to leave. There are moments I used to ask him, why do you even stay? I can't even give you children. We've been married for 4 years. Like, he was like, that's not the reason
I married you.
And just growing together, it really helps you as a couple grow together, because those scars really open, really open you up to having those difficult conversations.
Yeah, it makes you
that
vulnerable.
Really cement the bond you have and really make you stronger. Yes.
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So what is the one thing that you wish you knew before you started your periods?
How an abnormal period looks like.
I
was so excited, as I've told you, to start my period, but I didn't know what an abnormal period feels like or sounds like, or I wish someone told me cramping is not okay, because the entire time before I found out, of course, I have fibroids and all these things, I used to cramp, but I didn't know that cramping was not normal. So because my cramping had become worse over that year, even before I got married. If I knew that time that my cramping was not normal, probably I'd go to hospital and I would have gotten treatment before it became this serious. And just knowing that what an abnormal period feels like is so empowering for you as a woman. So I want to challenge every woman out there to actually find out what an abnormal period, feels or sounds like, even if you're not experiencing it. So that when the symptoms, come in or pop up, you're able to go see a doctor and you're able to get help before it becomes worse.
Because we're like a lot of normal textbook periods is what we're taught in school or in society. So we actually don't know. So it's actually, I think it's important for you to know, even for you, what is abnormal. Like this month, I was changing between 3 to 6 months. Between 3 to 6 hours. So if I'm not changing less, then something is off.
Something is off. If you're having pain, as I've said, if your period is very heavy, if you're extremely bloated, there's this bloated, there's this normal bloat, this normal sense of being bloated, but there's another bloating that is, if you're looking pregnant, there's something very off. If you're actually not even, if you're super constipated all the time, you're not going to, do you know how many times you're supposed to go for a long call, for example?
I know,
in
at least day. Every day.
Yeah. How many times?
Maybe 3 to 4.
Yeah, around that time. Around that, number of times. But you see, if you're constipated, you think, nile maragwe nilikula, nile mayai. That's
you haven't drank enough water today.
But there's something off. There's something off. So, knowing what the symptoms of an abnormal period sound or feel like is very important, because that way you can be empowered with information that will help you know that there's something is wrong and you're able to go and see a doctor.
And seek help early or in time. Then just as we wrap up, what advice would you share with women living with different menstrual conditions and disorders?
Do your own research. Go to your doctor, obviously. Doctors are good, that's why they are trained. They are trained to know how to fix your reproductive health issues. But unfortunately, we live in a society where we have quack doctors. Doctors who are more interested in making money than saving lives. It's a business, So do your research on your own. Google is your friend. As much as people say you shouldn't say, Google everything, Google. But it's true, guys. YouTube, there's so many outlets out there. YouTube, social media, Google. You can find all this information out there. There are books. Buy a book. Stop. Don't buy a lipstick today. Buy a book. Is there anything wrong with that? We can use Vaseline on our lips. Nothing will happen. Your lips won't get chapped. That's what really matters. But get that book. Get that knowledge. Get empowered. That truly was what matters. So I'd say research, and don't give up. As hard as it can sound and feel like, don't give up. Talk to advocates like me. I talk to people all the time on call. They call me on DMs. Reach out to people who've gone before and they've experienced this thing and have actually gotten solutions for this disease. But don't stay there and wallow in self-pity. I feel like even if you wallow in self-pity, there's nothing you're doing for yourself. But if you research and go out there and try to get this knowledge that will empower you and help you get a solution, a specific solution that would work for you, because there's so many treatment options for fibroids. There's so many. But before it gets that serious, can you get the help you need? And that's why I'm really big on saying research, and also listen to your doctor. But anytime your conscience tells you, and get a second opinion, anytime your conscience tells you, there's something off, listen to it. There's a reason your conscience was there. God didn't just put it there for you to get scared. Sometimes I say, even when it comes to things like fear is meant to protect you. I have a beautiful relationship with fear. I think fear is the best thing God ever gave us, because fear is meant to protect you. But every time it comes, you know, there are times you tell it to relax, take a back seat.
Yeah, not today.
I got this. There's nothing to protect me from. And there are times it's actually telling you, and that's your conscious, no, it's trying to protect you from something. So listen to it, listen, pay attention, listen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think basically what I've taken is that one, educate yourself, and also don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yes.
Like, no question is too dumb.
Yes.
You know, the dumbest question is like one that goes unasked.
Yeah.
So be sure to ask questions. And now that July is Fibroids Awareness Month, reach out to Tabitha if you have any questions.
Yes.
Dr. Christina Suli of Alora Medical Practice also speaks about fibroids, and she's able to answer your questions, you know, at any time.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, so just reach out to different people.
Yes,
yeah, and then we also need more people in the advocacy space speaking about fibroids. So also,
Yes.
your story is important. Share your experience.
It
You
is.
never know who you would help by
Yes,
sharing your
yes.
experience. You know, even you can start with your close friends and family, and then you know maybe people have been going through this thing, and you'll be together. Yeah. So
and you're not alone. Maybe the other thing I can say is you're not alone. I know there's so much stigma around fibroids where people say, what's this big thing about fibroids? Kila mtu akona fibroids. What's the big deal is that we're in pain. We are suffering.
Not normal.
It's not normal, guys. It's not normal. So let's stop trivializing it and start paying attention and actually sharing our story, as you said. And taking it seriously, guys. Like this thing is serious. This thing is really serious.
Really
and actually, fibroids that are left untreated can later end up being cancerous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let's get
Let's take it serious. Yeah. And also, my Red is beautiful as a community that you'd know they would walk with you and they would hold your hand.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Tabitha, for coming and for having this conversation with you. Definitely, I've learned a lot, and I'm sure the viewers have also learned a lot.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. You're doing a fantastic job with Wezesha Binti. I've learned a lot from you this morning before we started shooting. So kudos to you. Keep going. I know it's not the easiest thing, when you're running an initiative or an NGO, but keep going. Continue shining and being that light. Yeah. We need you. We need more of you, in this space. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So that's it from us for today. And be sure to stay tuned for our next episode.
Bye. Bye.